about something else, and let's transition over to something that I want to share with everyone is Masters of the Universe Revelation. Now, if you guys don't know, AD and I do differ in age by 20 some odd years. He's the younger guy. I'm the old veteran. And so He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is more my cup of tea. It's my thing. It's what I played with as a kid. And, I'm sure when AD was born, Masters of the Universe had been off the air for at least 20 years. So
my father was like a big collector of like Marvel. This is why I'm so into the Marvel and like nerdy stuff. But he was a collector of a lot of toys. He had a lot of He-Man toys. And I never honestly, because they never gave us I'm kind of excited for this and kind of not because of what I found out. But I was kind of excited as like, wow, now I get to actually learn about He-Man and like watch it in my own lens and like put my own thoughts to it. And who knows, maybe I'll be a fan of it like my father was. But like they definitely had the toys around. Like they all, yeah. I have the power. I've known it since I was young. I just was like, I'm never watching that.
So listen, so the funny thing is that if you know the history of this series, it's that He-Man was created strictly to sell toys. There was no intention of filling in the details in the background. It was the adventures of He-Man, and if they said, look, that's a cool looking vehicle, we're going to produce that and make it into a toy, or they had a toy in mind and they drew the concept for it. And so some of the stories when you watch the He-Man series, so for example, I'll give you a good example. Transformers. Yeah. That was a well thought out history story that became a toy phenomenon, right? He-Man, again, was strictly made to sell toys, and they sold the shit out of those toys because listen, they had like 16 versions of He-Man. I probably had 12 of them, right? The most genius thing that they sold toys is that He-Man and his alter ego, his Clark Kent, right, Prince Adam, they were both huge, giant, buff guys. So if you didn't know Prince Adam was He-Man, it's kind of stupid, right? Like the guy's just wearing a purple shirt, and that's the only difference between him and He-Man, right? So, anyway, so again, I was excited for this one, and the reason I wanted to cover it on tonight's show is because it got the most hits out of any reaction I've ever done. So.
I noticed that.
But before we get there, I want to shout out. This is my sister. My sister is commenting. Tony says here, the movie Masters of the Universe in the 80s was badass. And yes, it was. And I know we watched it until that VHS tape broke. Yeah, love that movie. And thank you for the love and support, Tony. I appreciate it. So, yeah, keep those comments going.
What did you think about the trailer itself?
So, all right. So, listen, the trailer to me was amazing, right? I did a rewind. So I watched it. I gave a reaction, and I said I gotta watch it again, and I reacted again. And I loved it. I loved it. It was, and you know what it was is that it gave the nod to all the things that we loved about the series, including the 80s music. Right? Yeah. They put I Need a Hero in the background, which anybody who was from the 80s knows that's like the soundtrack of soundtracks to get you hyped for the the only thing they could have done better is put the Rocky theme in the background, and that, we would have melted at that point. No, but honestly, I'm intrigued by the anime style. Yeah. And to me, because I love anime, my sister loves anime more than I do. She was a huge anime head, but that style is more conducive to getting other eyes on this particular property. So the anime style just had me roped in. So yeah, I love the trailer. The trailer was amazing, and it got the most hits on my thing. So I know that for sure I'm going to be checking out the series. The one thing I am afraid of, though, is that if you don't know anything about the series, it is just another Netflix show. Yeah. which I think is what happened to Castlevania. I think if you played the video games back in the Super Nintendo and NES days,
See, I didn't even know it was a game.
Right. So you would get into it because you knew about those games, but other than that, it's like, who else wants to watch that? So that's my fear. Now, I do know that Mr. Kevin Smith was the he's the showrunner. I guess he's producing the series and he's helping, and supposedly the head honcho at Netflix is a huge He-Man fan.
Yeah.
So this is why it's like a passion project, and they loved it. They put some money into it. So my fear is that Kevin Smith does oversell a lot of things. Again, he's a fan just like we are.
Yeah.
He's a passionate fan. The difference is he has money and resources, and he has millions of followers and subscribers who listen to him and will give him a lot of, they'll listen to what he says. And unfortunately, some of the stuff that he's hyped isn't as good. And that's my fear, is that he said, look, if you remember the old series, you're going to love this one. And I know that you were telling me before we started that the show is actually not He-Man's show, but it's Teela's show. It's her revelation.
Who is she to He-Man?
I think so. There was Man-at-Arms, which is the yellow and green guy, and he that's I think his daughter. So she'd always be a bodyguard to Prince Adam, which was technically He-Man.
Yeah.
So and he didn't need a bodyguard, but So again, that's my fear with this, is with Kevin Smith, sort of hyping the shit out of this thing. It might fall flat on its face, but
at the very least, it looks beautiful.
It looks amazing.
The colors were vibrant. I mean, like you said, the anime style. Honestly, I enjoy what they're doing with they're trying to bring the anime style to a new age thing. I enjoy that. I like how it looks, the aesthetic, because it kind of feels like a moving comic book, at least to me.
Yeah.
The same thing that I was telling you about, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, how that felt like a comic. This kind of felt like I was flipping through a page of a comic. So it looked very nice. Yeah, no,
it's visually stunning, and that's great. Will the story hold up? So I did listen to an interview from him, and he basically said he was giving away the story. He's like, look, it takes place right after the old series, and up until the first half of the first episode, you're in that world, in the old world. Simple story, simple thing. He goes, but things get deep, and the revelation piece is what goes dark a little bit in the show, and that's what brings you some more character. Let's see, another comment. Watch Tusk. It's Kevin Smith's idea. Yeah, Tusk. I didn't watch Tusk, but I saw what the Tusk character looked like, and it was horrendous. Google that movie, and you Google what that guy looks like. You know why it didn't do well and it didn't make no money. I mean, that's a bad idea by Kevin Smith.
So if the show does follow the Teela character, and however, I mean, I'm sure they have if it does go that direction, they have a story behind it. Will you still like it as much, do you think? Or are you watching it for the nostalgia of He-Man? And
I'm really honestly, He-Man's a pretty one-dimensional character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the hero because he's the hero, right? He's got the special power. But I'm going to give it a shot. But I do know if He-Man isn't prominently featured a lot, it's going to lose a lot of people. People aren't going to be very happy about it. Now, the good thing is two things, right? And we'll talk about who plays Skeletor in a second. But the He-Man transformation that they showed in the trailer was to me the goosebump moment, because that whole I have the power thing and the way that it was happening is they showed a Prince Adam who looks like a normal dude. Doesn't look like a muscular, overbuilt guy, and that he transforms into this muscular figure when he wields the sword and he calls for the power, which is a great way to fix that story element that people really, really, sort of laughed at in the 80s. And we, as kids, we knew hey, that's Prince Adam. Like stop it. He even has the same haircut. Stop it. but Skeletor. This is the thing. Skeletor. I think he's increased in popularity recently. Because of his. He was so cartoonishly buffoonish, and the insults. Right. I think I saw a video. There's a whole Skeletor's best insults, and it's like, you sniveling baboon. Da, da, da. And it's like, but that's how funny he was. So now they have Mark Hamill voicing Skeletor, and so to me, it sounded like his old Joker characters that he's done, and so I'm not gonna listen. I love Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill is a great voice actor. I just don't know if he'll have the same comedy in there. It seems that they're taking it a little bit more serious, and that's the thing about Skeletor, is that he's not the best villain. He doesn't get away with it. Like, each episode ended with him and his henchmen screwing it up. So I don't know, and that's part of the charm of the show. So
I mean, they can't. It's like, how can you? Because from what I hear, or what I'm gathering from this, it's like it was kind of like a cheesy show, and like you said, it was made to sell toys. So I don't think they really cared about story. But like this one seems like they're probably gonna care about story, and like story arcs and stuff. So it's gonna be hard to have that kind of comedy and like those kind of like remarks. Now, if he can't. Mark Hamill is somebody that can do this because he's a great voice actor. I mean, he did the Joker in the Batman animated series. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite anime series ever. So I don't know. I'm curious to see, because, like I said, I'm gonna watch this with like brand new eyes. Like, I don't know anything about this. I mean, everything I'm gonna learn is from this show pretty much. So it's gonna be dope if we do have discussions about it, to see your perspective and my perspective on it.
Yeah, and so this is this right here is one of the characters. There's Orko, which was a terrible character, and it's like the Jar Jar Binks of He-Man, essentially, right? Like hated universally, and now in the trailer they have him doing some badass shit. Like you're just like, that's Orko, and so you know. And then this is what you were talking about before. We were mentioning that Teela was the main character there in the center. It's her story. It's the revelation. So what I read and what I saw from an interview is that, what if, and this is how they look at it, it's like, what if, because she's the one person who didn't know that He-Man was Prince Adam. The sorcerer knew, the man-at-arms guy knew, everybody else knew, but she didn't know. So they say that the revelation is her finding out that he is He-Man. And that's an interesting story. It's an interesting way to look at He-Man. But again, how far can you go with that story with her? That's
and it makes sense, because if they are carrying over from the older show and this is just a continuation, then that would be a dope storyline, because now they gives it a reason for them to have this show. But once she finds out, then that's where it's going to be like, where do they take it after that? At least what I'm thinking.
Yeah. All right. So not a whole lot more that we can cover. I mean, the trailer was like 2 minutes long, and there's a lot of stuff to sort of digest, and a lot of it is speculation right now. So, again, I wanted to make sure that we talked about it because, again, one of the top hits on my channel. Guys really, really liked it. I loved the trailer. I watched it twice, and I watched it probably 3 or 4 times over after that. But again, there's some skepticism there. We'll see if Kevin Smith can deliver. So again, if you're rewatching this, make sure you give me comments about what you thought of the Masters of the Universe Revelation trailer. Did you like it? What do you think of what's going to happen with it? And is Kevin Smith selling us a bill of goods that's going to pay off? Or is it just going to fall flat on his face? So let me know in the comments what you think. All right.